Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon. Welcome to an extra special edition of Across the Pitch. My name is Phil Kennedy, and I'm here with Tony Robinson, where today we have a unique episode where with Accrington Stanley, we like to tell the story of the entire team, whether it be players, managers, coaches, ownership. We have everybody. But the most important part of any football club is the supporters. And today we have a special interview because with Accrington Stanley, it's a family club, and that's the story we're telling of Accrington Stanley, a family club. And for Wayne Shuttleworth and his daughter Libby, Accrington Stanley is definitely a family event. They have season tickets to the Wham. They attend every game. They also travel to most of the away games. So we're excited to welcome them to the show here. Welcome, Wayne and Libby. How are you doing here today?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Good morning, as it may be in your case.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all good. Thanks, and raring to go.
Yeah, it's nice to speak to you again, Wayne. It's been a while. I got to know Wayne a little bit when I was over last trip, and I didn't get the pleasure of speaking to his daughter, but we have Libby on the line with us, don't we?
Hi.
Hiya, Libby. You all right, love?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not in school right now because right now we're in the middle of the day over here. So you're done school and ready to talk football, are you?
Yeah, we're done with school. It's 7 o'clock.
All right, good. Well, we won't keep you. I know you've probably stayed up a few late nights, especially with some of the away trips. But I'll fill you in, Phil. I met Wayne where I was in a pub in Great Harwood having a drink, and Wayne was kind enough to come over and said he recognized the voice and talked about the podcast. And I've been following his story really for the year because with him and Libby and if you want to call anybody super fans, you've got to look at these two people. And I think it's a first for us because I think Libby's the youngest person we've had on the show. That's a check mark for Libby, and it's a first father and daughter combination we've had. We've had husband and wife and everything else. So this is we're setting records here today. So. Yeah, and I think I don't know if I don't know. I think I might owe Wayne a beer for when we last time met, but when we meet up this time, we'll have to sort that out.
I'll hold you to that. You worry about that.
Yeah, yeah. You must be from the same side of the street as Darren Woodhead because he's the same way.
So how long have you and Libby been attending the Stanley matches, and what was it that drew you to Stanley in the start?
So my story my first Stanley game was 2003. I was living in Darwin at the time. About 10 miles away from Accrington. And me and my little brother, just one day, let's go and do something. Let's go and do something that we don't normally do. So I was having a look at local teams that were available, and just Accrington stuck out at that time. It was travelling everywhere on the bus, and we could just jump on the bus outside our house, and it'd literally take us to Accrington Town Centre, and it's a 5 or 10 minute walk up to the Wham. So we thought, right, we'll do that. So not expecting great things, to be honest, but thought, it'll keep us busy on a Saturday afternoon. As soon as we got there, we were just made to feel so welcome. I think it was quite obvious to the people that worked around there that we were newbies and it was our first ever game. And yeah, we were just invited into the club shop, having a chat with the people that were there, having a chat with some of the stewards who then took us round to our seats. The first time that I went to Stanley, I sat outside is near the new 1968 lounge, right in front of that. And yeah, unfortunately, the result didn't go Stanley's way. It was a 2-1 win to Halifax, I think. But that was kind of where the love affair started for me. And then as time went on, football played second fiddle to having children and having a family and things like that. I moved over to the Accrington area back in 2012. I was able to go to a few more games, but never really able to go consistently. It was always about 4 or 5 games a season, maybe the odd Tuesday night. And then last season, I think it was about January, February time, me and Libby decided to go for a walk in the evening. And it was when Accrington played Sunderland. So we were walking up Whalley Road in the direction.
That's a big match there.
Yeah, well, we were walking up, and then there was just, it must have been about 5 p.m, and there was just a sea of people walking against us. And Libby just said, what's going on down there? She'd never seen anything like that in Accrington. I explained, it's Accrington Stanley. We'll walk down past the stadium, and we'll see the floodlights, and you can see the pitch and everything. And she just mentioned, can we go one day? I'm just like, yeah, it's not a problem. Sure, I'll pick some tickets up. So a couple of weeks went on, and I've never really given another thought about it, to be honest. And then she brought it up again. Did you get those Accrington Stanley tickets? No, I haven't. But now that you mentioned it again, next time I'm going past Stanley, and I'll up the Gillingham game end of last season, nearly 12 months ago. And we went to that game. We got a couple of drinks beforehand, a bovril, a pie.
Yeah.
Sat there game. Unfortunately, Stanley lost. But that's where it kind of began for Libby. We were sat in the studio stand, so the opposite from where we are at the moment.
When she caught the bug.
Yeah, well, she enjoyed the game. She enjoyed the atmosphere. After the final whistle, the players came over, and it was Ross Sykes kind of walked past us, asked him for a picture, and it just such a nice guy, and having a chat and asking Libby about how long she'd been going to Stanley. He found out it was her first game, so really made an effort with her. And just walking home, she just couldn't wait for the next game. Make sure you go and buy tickets next game, Dad. Make sure we go. I want to. So.
That to me, it reminds me a lot of myself when I was about 8 years old, and I went to my first Phoenix Suns NBA basketball game, and it was just, like you said, the atmosphere, it just won me over. And every day I'd be like, Dad, when are we going to go to the Suns game next? And yeah, I just, it's taken me back hearing your story here. And you mentioned two really important things. One thing that you mentioned was the word welcome, and how welcome you felt at Accrington Stanley. And to me, that is the most important thing. And that's the reason that we're here talking in the first place, is because when I first started this show 5 years ago, I was looking to cover a lot of different smaller clubs in England, and Accrington was the first team that we decided to cover. And we reached out to some other clubs after that, and we just never felt the same welcoming that Accrington had, and that's what eventually brought us back to say, we're just going to do an Accrington show, is they make us feel so welcome here. And then, what you mentioned, like with Ross Sykes, just, he's obviously been on the show and has been a fantastic guest, and just all of the players, everybody is just, like he said, such a nice person. So committed to the club. I mean, it's a family atmosphere, and everything you're saying is exactly the reason that we're here doing this show to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going back to 20 years ago when I first started going, and that kind of family-orientated atmosphere hasn't changed at all. Owners have come and gone, but everybody that comes into Accrington buys into that. From the players, the staff, the owners, when they've come in, everybody within the club, before and after games, you can go into Coley's after game and you can have a drink with players and a chat with players, and everybody's just, it's unique. You tend to get that anywhere. Obviously, we've been to quite a few away games, and there's no away game feels like Stanley. Yeah, there's nice people that you bump into, but nothing compares to what they're doing down at the One.
Well, I want to ask Libby, when your first match there, and Ross Sykes came over and spoke to you, and what did that feel like? Because obviously it's your first match, you were interested in going. How did you feel when you had that experience of your first match and talking to a player?
It was a good feeling. It was a good feeling because it was my first ever time talking to someone who talks to so many people, gets so many autographs and things like that. And it was so calm about it. Like, I thought it was going to be like a weird thing, but it just felt so normal, and it just made me feel so welcome. He knew it was my first match. He tried to make it good for me, and immediately I was hooked on him. He was a player.
I think what the players, they're real people, and when you talk to a player, you just see them on the pitch, and when you see them after the match or in the college or wherever, you talk to them, and they're just like talking to a neighbour, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think for single lads coming in, it's a little deal. Ryan Astley, for example, his first game when he came in, after the game, they were all sat in Corley's. And he was just sat there, and obviously coming from a setup like Everton, John Coleman came over and just said, right, who wants a drink? Do you want a beer? Do you want a beer? Do you want a beer? And he just looked so... the manager was asking if he wanted a beer. He was kind of looking round like, is this a setup? Like, am I allowed to take this? Just the look on his face was like absolute shit. But I think that's when, the moment that he started to buy into what we are and understand what we are. Anyone that comes in, they must have to buy into us as a club and treat fans the way that we are, because I don't think players that didn't do that would fit in.
No. I want to talk. I know you've been to a lot of away matches. When that come up about wanting to start going to away matches? Because I mean, it's one thing to go to home matches, but then to make the decision to travel away, it's a big step for some people. How did that come about? Was that something was it Libby's idea or your idea? Or?
Well, it was. As I said, we went to absolutely hope. Wanted to go to the second game. The second game was Cheltenham last season. I think it ended 4-4. It was just a roller coaster of a game. As we were leaving again, Wednesday. Well, it's against Wigan. And she was asking, can we go? Well, it's away. It's about an hour's 45-minute, an hour away for us. And just making sure that she felt comfortable with that. And, you will be outnumbered, you will be outsung and things like that. And Wigan is a good place to go to for your first away game because it is a relatively low attendance, relatively quiet. So I thought, we'll take Libby and just see how she reacts to that kind of atmosphere. Not too intimidating to go to for a first away game. So picked her up from school, had a bite to eat, travelled down to Wigan and walked to the stadium and went and again was just instantly comfortable with being there. And that was kind of me to think, right, every game, that's it now. No days off. With how comfortable she was with being put in that kind of position. So I thought, it's only an hour away. If she doesn't like it, if it's a little bit too much for her, or the stadium's a little bit too big for her or anything, we can always just get in the car. We've not lost much and just get ourselves home. But unfortunately, it wasn't the best result. I think it ended 3-0 to Wigan. But again, it was an experience for her and showed her that, she's welcome to follow Stanley home and away. So
what's Libby's favourite away day or trip? What's your favourite one, Libby?
I don't really know because I only like the small stadiums because it's nice being in a small stadium. But if I had to say, it was Fleetwood when we won 2-1. Because me and my dad went, I told him to put a bet for 2-1 on. We won 2-1, won 50 quid, and I was
nice
on my pies.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
I think it was a 95th minute winner. You just can't beat a 95th minute winner.
No.
£50.
No.
Libby was impressed with the free pies that were given away as we were leaving, so she had one in each hand walking back to the car.
There is nothing better than you said. Like you said, there's nothing better than a late winner, unless that late winner also covers a bet and puts some quid in your pocket. I mean, that is that's the. I don't know what you even call it. That's the trifecta.
Well, I tell you, there's one thing better than a pie, and that's a free pie. And speaking of which, didn't I saw? And this is a question to both of you. You won a competition, or you won some pies from Clayton Park Pies. How did that come about?
Yeah, that's right. So it was before the League FA Cup game. Clayton Park and Stanley did like a video, and it was comment on this tweet with your favourite pie filling, and you can win a pie hamper. So I commented his favourite, the classic meat and potato, and
yes.
Mine was steak and pepper, and yeah, fun. So
steak and pepper. That sounds good.
They are. I mean.
No.
Over in the U.S. here, we mostly have dessert pies. We have like cherry pie, apple pie, pumpkin pie, sweet potato pie.
You got to enjoy. Well, Libby? What's your favorite pie?
Meat potato.
Oh, lovely! That's the correct answer. You can't beat a good meat and potato pie. Love it.
Yeah, that'll be the first thing that I'm trying when I get over to the WAM is one of each pie.
You'll be taking them back with you as well.
Yeah, you can squeeze them in your luggage.
So Clayton Park were kind enough to bring the pies round to our house one Wednesday evening. We had to do a little bit of a video, which wasn't the proudest moment of my life, but. I think I'm now out of the running to be the next James Bond because they found out that I'm not ill, which I'm a little bit with, to be honest. The pies were donated to a local food bank, so it's all for a good cause. You know, make myself
brilliant
for a good cause. All for that.
The one when Libby mentioned about Fleetwood, I thought you might have mentioned that time you went to Forest Green and it was rained out, but you had a little bit of a birthday party there, didn't you?
Yeah, it was my birthday and it got cancelled as soon as we pulled up to the stadium. So we had a little break. We got invited into one of I think it was the director's boxes communication thing. And I told them that it was my birthday. They asked if they could get a birthday cake, but there weren't enough time because we had to get back to the pub. Because we made an excuse that we were locked in when we were actually enjoying ourselves to a cake. Well, they brought in these cinnamon bun things with some dough and nuts inside of it, and it was the best.
Lovely. It's great. I think that's. I suppose the family camaraderie, if you will, of football fans. It's you go to other places and they'll do things like that. It sort of means a lot, and I think that's one of the things that's special to Accrington because we seem to see that a lot with those type of things through from Accrington. So yeah, that's a great story.
Yeah, it ended up being obviously the disappointment of a called off game just as we were pulling up to the stadium, but. It all ended up really well. The people that we met at Forest Green are actually there for the game against Forest Green up here, so that'd be good to meet up with them before the game and have a drink with them and just show them our hospitality.
Yes, exactly.
Well, we have a fun segment on the show coming up here, but before we get to that, we do have one quick special announcement. We've got a birthday boy in the house today. Happy birthday, Tony Robinson, and I think we need to sing to him. Here we go.
No.
Happy birthday. No, I'm just kidding.
No. Stop it.
I won't embarrass you that bad, but I will embarrass you a little bit with the introduction to our next segment, which was Tony's idea and has now become the most popular segment on our show. It started out with just some North England versus South England questions, and now he's added some customized stuff. Well, I'm just going to turn it over for the world famous rapid fire. Take it away, Tony.
Thanks, Bill. I'm not sure what I'm more embarrassed about with the birthday wishes or the introduction, but it's just some fun questions. I thought what we could do is I'll ask the question, and I'm going to ask the question to Libby, and I want Libby to answer for her dad, and then we'll ask Wayne, and he's got to answer for Libby. We'll see how well they know each other. Okay, Libby, what does your dad prefer, mushy or garden peas?
I think garden peas.
Right, is that right, Wayne?
No, she's grounded.
Right, right. Then off to a great all start. Okay, Wayne? What does Libby prefer, mushy or garden?
Libby doesn't like peas.
Well, that's a scratch on that one. Okay, okay. Libby, does your dad like red or brown sauce on his bacon sandwich?
Brown.
Wayne?
Straight in there with no hesitation. Yeah, that's right.
And what was Libby like?
Brown.
Yeah.
Is that right, Libby?
Yeah.
Okay. Which one would of the two of you would eat black pudding with the full English?
No, it's not for me. It's not for me.
I used to, but I found out what it was made out of. It's not for me anymore.
All right. Okay. This might be more. This is a bit easier one. Gravy or gravy or curry on your chips. What do you prefer, Libby?
I prefer gravy.
Yes. Oh, it's a staple. Wayne?
She's a proper northerner, just like her dad.
Yeah. It's a food group in Accrington, isn't it? Gravy. We might get different answers here. I'll just ask you, Wayne, straight. Do you have a favourite band or musician?
My all-time favourite band, I would say, is probably the Stone Roses.
Sorry, say that again.
I didn't hear you. The phone cut out when you said that both times. I apologize.
All right, no, but the Stone Roses, grew up in the 90s, so that's my kind of thing.
All right. What about you, Libby?
I have a lot, but if there was two, I'd either say Oasis or Linkin Park.
Wow, very good. That's very good choice. I actually know those two bands. I know those.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Linkin Park, Chester Bennington actually was from Phoenix, Arizona. So that's a little trivia for you.
Very good. Now, I know this. Do you, I'll go with Libby first. Libby, do you have a hobby outside of football?
I used to swimming, but not anymore. I've retired.
Retired. Good for you. Good for you. You gotta know when to quit. What about you, Wayne?
I don't think I really have one. That many games this season, they don't really do much else. Like walking, getting out there in the countryside.
Yeah, there's some good walks. I mean, around the area, there's some really good scenery and quick. You walk, you can be in the country so quick there. Right, Wayne, what would Libby's favourite takeaway be?
Doner meat and chips.
And Libby, what's your dad's favourite takeaway?
There's a lot of things.
Oh no, don't be like.
Yeah.
My body's a temple.
Yeah. Pizza and what's it called? What is it? Cheese without sauce. Garlic bread.
Garlic bread.
You can't go wrong. You ever have jalapeno peppers on your pizza? That's a big thing here in Arizona.
What was that? Sorry.
Yeah, have you had
hot jalapeno peppers on your pizza? That's our favorite here in Arizona.
Yeah, I don't mind a little bit of heat on a pizza.
No,
all right. Not for you.
Me.
No.
No. I think that I'm just looking over it. Yeah, because the other ones we had here, Phil, were more player related, and that doesn't really apply.
That's the one about if you had a chance to have dinner with any two people.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. And this is you both can. Let's have Wayne pick one, and then Libby pick one. Name two people that you would like to have dinner with.
Put me on the spot now.
It's not an easy question.
No,
lots to choose from.
I'm gonna have to come back to that.
Right, that's all right. Libby,
right.
have you got an answer?
Well,
what was the question? Sorry.
Who would you most like to have dinner with?
In the world.
Parents.
Who's that?
Tommy Lee, a footballer at Accrington Stanley, and his parents.
All right, very good.
Yeah,
excellent. That's good. Yeah. Have you thought of one yet, Wayne, or shall we move on?
I don't know. I don't think I can just narrow it down to one. Someone funny.
Are you what's the fella from Bolton that he cracks me up?
Peter Kay.
Yeah. I could sit down and have a pint with him and have a good laugh with him. I think
I'd probably say Peter Kay. Then I can run through a few of mine and see what he thinks. See whether I can make it as a stand-up comedian.
Well, you couldn't get a better critic or guidance than him. Good northern humor. Okay, well, thanks you both for doing that. I think we'll go into now more into the Stanley. Yeah, actually, the team and the season so far. So, Phil, do you want to take the next one?
Yeah, Tony, actually, what I was going to say real quick is, Wayne, I don't blame you at all for having a tough time with that question, because as many times as I've heard Tony ask it, I have struggled to figure out, and I just this week, I finally figured out who one of those people would be. That's a guy named Jerry Colangelo, who he was the owner of the Phoenix Suns and the Arizona Diamondbacks, just a very important person in the history of Phoenix, Arizona. So Tony, there's one of my answers to that question is Jerry Colangelo.
Oh, that's a good one. To be honest with you, I don't know myself. I know one would be my dad, but the second one, I don't know. So, but anyway.
So I'm looking at. You go to history. I mean, that gets even harder. Like, I mean, how would you pass up a chance to talk to somebody like George Washington?
True. So let's
Albert Einstein. That's somebody. How would you, or like Tesla, or any of those inventors, or how about Leonardo da Vinci? There we go. There's my second answer. Leonardo da Vinci.
Very good.
On to football.
Yes, I was going to say, can we get back to our guests there, Phil? Thank you.
So first, we're going to ask you a little bit about this season, which it's been up and down, and unfortunately, it's been a lot of downs with the injuries. Have you seen in your history of watching football a team that's had this much trouble with the injuries, and has that changed your expectations for the season overall?
So initially, for the beginning of the season, I thought we'd kick on from last season's finish, and maybe not quite as far up as the playoffs, but I expected us to get top half. Obviously, quite quickly within pre-season, as Michael Nottingham, for example, a massive loss. 2 games losing Jerick Bagaloo. So you're 2 first choice central defenders have gone within the first couple of weeks of the season with long-term injuries. We've obviously sold over the past 12, 18 months, we've sold some players, all right, for great money, but I don't think that quality has been replaced as yet. I think the squad as a whole is maybe a little bit weaker than it was last season. And then when you add in,
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you about is, and this is something I've been asking a few people about, is during 2020 and 2021, obviously with COVID, a lot of non-league matches were canceled, or there was nobody allowed to attend games, and I feel like that really impacted scouting for those 2 years, and that maybe people that would have been scouted in 2020, 2021 would have been people they would have signed maybe last year or this year, and I think that we're really feeling the impact of that now. Do you think that was a factor?
I think the financial state of football at the moment is quite a big factor. Maybe the pandemic had something to do with that as well. But you look at the teams above us in the league, usually they have they can cherry pitch whoever they want. At the moment, a lot of teams seem to be doing what we've been doing successfully for a number of seasons, is going down to non-league football, picking out one or two players and developing them. Even the bigger clubs seem to be doing that at the moment. So, unfortunately, when the opportunity comes, I mean, I suppose Doug Farm is a great example of that, with Stanley looking at signing him, and then Blackpool came in for him. And Stanley just can't compete with the financial might of the other teams that are dipping into the same pond. Now, luckily enough, they've agreed to loan him to us for the season. But that's one example. So I can see it being maybe getting more difficult over the next coming seasons. You've got clubs with huge recruitment departments, scouting nearly every game in the National League North and South, and being able to do that. And unfortunately, we haven't got the resources to be able to do that. Whereas,
that's an excellent point that you make, is that if you look at like Colby Bishop and Dion Charles, for example, those were both guys that were playing in the 6th tier. John Coleman went, found them, brought them up, and turned them into League One stars, and then they moved on, obviously. And I think that you make a great point there, is I think a lot of these bigger clubs have seen that. They're now going down, they're scouting the 6th tier, and they're offering more money than Accrington can afford to offer to some of these guys. I think that's really an excellent point that you've made there.
Yeah, I really don't envy the job that John and Jimmy and the team have at the moment. With the financial constraints that we have, I don't know how we can compete in that department. I think the only way that we can compete is you just make the promise to players that we will bring you in, and when it's time for you to move on, we won't stand in your way and to let you move on, which was the case with Colby and Dion. Whereas other teams maybe try and hold on to them a little bit more. I think Andy Holt would be a man of his word when it comes to that, and let players move on.
I think this is why the importance of the under-23s and that squad between the youth and the first team is so important, because this year, especially with all the number of injuries, we've started to see a lot of players get time in the first team and perform and do well and got bright futures. And I can say Dan Martin for one, that's really you can see that he's got a future. And so I think that's where, if you can't find like the gem in non-league because other teams are going after them and paying more money, then you almost have to sort of rely on your under 23s. And it seems to be well, they have contributed this season. I think there's a big importance to that squad. Would you agree, Wayne?
Yeah, definitely. Given the injury situation, I think at one point during one game we was counting, and I think there was 7 players on the pitch that had actually come through the ranks at Stanley, from Toby Savin in goal through to Dan Martin and players like that. Josh Woods, I think, was on the pitch. So they are the future of Accrington Stanley.
Yeah, yeah. There was that young lad started at fullback. I can't think of his name. Tall lad. His name escapes me. Yes, and then young O'Brien got an appearance on. So, there's some good talent coming through there. But it's been an important factor so far this season. But which leads me into a question, and we'll fire this one at Libby first. Is who's your favorite player, and who's the player of the season so far? Is it the same person, or do you have two choices for that, Libby?
Favorite player is Tommy Lee. I've got to say it. I've got to put it out there. It's Tommy Lee. He's not always been my favorite, but he is now. I think he's my man of the season for me. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good choice. What about you, Wayne?
I can't actually pick one player of the season. I don't think there's been one absolute standout player compared to all the rest. A few players that have done really, really well. Sean Whalley has come in, and just what a signing he's been. Along with Sean, you've got Harvey Rogers, Mitch Clark. They're all in the running to be player of the season. Favourite player is probably one that's only just emerging, is becoming Baba Fernandez. I just love him. Absolutely love him. The passion that he shows. You probably don't necessarily see it on the screen, but the passion that he shows, he fights for everything. He will argue. He could kick a ball out for a throw-in, and he will argue and argue and argue that it didn't go out or whatever. It's just the passion that he shows.
He's certainly. I think his game has really, this last month or two. I think at the first time I saw him play a couple of times, he looked a bit nervous or a bit sort of out of step. But I think he's really, he's really improved or developed in the last little while. I think I can see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I just think it stood so well to come in under tough circumstances to come. I believe that he doesn't speak much English as well, so there's obviously going to be communication issues there, but I think he's come in and done really well. Another favourite would be Josh Woods. I just find his personality just so infectious. He just loves it. He never wandering around without a smile on his face.
That's right. He's always got a smile on him. Yeah.
Yeah. And, the fans buy into that. We could be 300 miles from home and he's on the bench, and the fans will be singing his name when he's warming up.
That's good. That's great.
Can't wait to see him get a run of games. I've been to 3 of the under-23 games, and he played 2 of them, and he was outstanding in the games that I saw him. So I would love to see him get a run of games. Yeah,
I think I agree with that. Libby, who makes the most noise at the match, your dad or you?
My dad, for sure. I'm too embarrassed. I can't shout or anything, but when the referee starts to get a bit on my nerves, I start screaming at them. It's not my fault for being unfair.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk about League One and where we are this season. I mean, we are in the bottom 4. We got games in hand this Saturday. I hate to say it's a must win, but it's getting into that category. Okay, Libby, go first. Can we survive in League One, and why?
I mean, I hope we can. We gotta have a positive attitude. We should be able to, because I think there's only about 15 games left. Is that right, Doug?
Yeah, about that, yeah.
Yeah. I think if...
You have that number exactly right, 15 left.
Yeah. if we really get our heads straight, the players, they realise 15 games left. We gotta smash this. We've got to absolutely smash this. We gotta try our hardest, harder than they are trying, which is really hard. And it's not going to be that easy. You can't just win. But we should be able to if we put our hats on and realise we've got 15 games left. Right, we need to sit down. We need to think, how are we going to do this? Mm-hmm. That's what I think.
No, I think you're bang on. And I think winning on Saturday would be a really big step in that direction. And let's face it, you have to beat the teams in and around you. And there's, a good 7 or 8 teams are Oxford's in the mix now because they can't win a game. But you've got to beat the teams in around you. I think if they do that, they can do it. So I'm picking a win on Saturday. What's your prediction for Saturday, Libby? For if you got your dad, you give him a tip. I might put a couple of quids on it if you have a good tip for us.
She's not been right so far this season. Let's just make that clear.
All right. Okay. What do you think, Libby?
So,
I think it's going to be some stats, but we've got better than them because last time they were bad, but we were worse, which was the problem. We weren't right that day. I didn't think we expected it then, and we just, because we expect it now, I think we can do it. But yeah.
So are you picking a score?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. So what's your score prediction? Because you have the hot hand for gambling. So all of our betting aficionados are wanting to know your pick.
I'm going for 2-1 Stanley, which we always go for.
2-1 to the Stanley. I like it.
I'd like to see more goals.
We're on 31 points right now with the 15 matches left. How many points do you think that we need to finish with in order to stay up?
I'm having a look at the fixtures that are available, and I think realistically, 18 points out of the next 15 games is achievable, which will take us to 49th, and I think that will be enough to keep us up. Looking at the teams that we've got Forest Green, Milton Keynes, Cambridge. I do think that we can do it. I hope that we can do it. We've just got to start scoring more goals. Without scoring, you don't win football matches, and draws have been a bit of an issue this season. Obviously, you want to pick up a point rather than a loss, but it just makes you think, if we had a 10, 15 goal a season striker, how many of them draws that we've had so far would have turned into wins and the extra points that comes with it? So I think scoring, I think we've got the second lowest goals in the league. I think there's only Cheltenham that are below us. Yeah. I think we've got 26.
They've got 25, yeah.
So that's obviously been an issue this season. But again, you look at losing Colby Bishop, you look at losing Dion Charles last season. We brought in Matt Lowe, who's then suffered quite a significant setback. It was good to see him back on Saturday. Aaron Presley has come in and done well. But we need to start scoring more goals. The defence is a lot better than it was 3 months ago.
Absolutely. Yeah, the defense has been really strong. And just quickly looking at goal difference, we've gotten some help with recent results. We're at minus 21 on goal difference right now. Just looking at some of the teams around us, Cambridge and Forest Green are minus 28 and minus 38. So they're both way back. But MK Dons are minus 22, Morecambe minus 20. Shelton at -21, Burton -18. So I feel like, if we could get from -21 to somewhere down around the -15 range, that could make a huge difference in terms of a tiebreaker at the end.
Well, I'm a big, I lean a lot to teams that are in form. And if you look at the bottom 8 teams in the last 5 matches, I think we're the second out of those 8 for in form, and we've only won 1 match. We've only lost 1. We got the 3 draws. So yeah, like Wayne said, if we could just turn those draws into wins and get a goal in open play, in the first half or whatever, and I think then we can kick on. I say this Saturday's match is to me is an important one, and we've said this about other matches, but every match, the next match, when you're in the bottom grouping, seems to be more important. So
there's six pointers from here on out.
Yeah. So you both got season tickets, so you'll both be at the match, and you're looking forward to going on Saturday, Libby?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it because I made a friend at Forest Green and I'm hoping to see her.
Oh, very good. And your favourite player won't be playing, will he? He was a bad boy, was he?
Yeah.
He played for the under-20 today. Libby was out with a friend, but I managed to get to that game, and I sent her a quick message just saying Tommy's playing, and she was gutted that she missed it.
Oh dear. Oh, well, he'll be back soon, and he's a good player. I did meet him when I was over, but this has been very good to talk to you both, and I think it's great what the traveling you do and the enthusiasm you have, especially. I'm not only you, Wayne, but Libby is she's obviously got the bug, and you are the future of the club. You and people of your age group are the future. So. Thanks for being a member of the family and a really important part of the future. So glad you're doing this, Libby, and keep up the good work.
Thanks.
It's another point as well to make is Libby's 11 now, and she's getting to that point where at her age she'd rather be going in town with her friends, and maybe the father-daughter relationship drifts a little bit, but Stanley's really brought us closer together than ever. We spend 8 hours driving on a Saturday in the car together, singing songs from the 90s and telling jokes, and it really has brought us together at a time when some father-daughter relationships kind of drift apart a little bit. So it's really given us something to bond over. So, from that respect, it means absolutely everything to me as a father. And I would definitely recommend any guys out there, or parents, mothers, parents that are together, separated, take your sons, take your daughters, Stanley, regardless of their age. They will be welcomed. And, you might even witness a couple of goals and make new friends. And it's just a really good day out. If you think of how much it costs to go to Blackpool Play, or for example, you're not going to get much change from £100. You can get in Stanley, £5, buy a pie and a drink, and there's your day sorted.
Yeah. No, I think that it's an excellent point you make, because there's more times where people can't bond over something, and this is such a good thing to develop a relationship, which will put you in good stead as Libby gets older, and when she's having to wheel you to the match, Wayne, you've got to be nice to her now, don't you?
That's not far off, to be honest, Tony. It's not far off at all.
No, I think that's a great.
I never would have expected 12 months ago, 18 months ago, that I would be having a discussion about the positioning of a Portuguese centre-back, Frank Stanley, with my 11-year-old daughter on a 4-hour drive home from Cheltenham. If you told me that 18 months ago, I'd have thought you were mad.
Well, I mean, I'm going back 10 years ago, probably or more, when I thought I was the only Accrington Stanley supporter in North America. And if somebody just said then you're going to be on a podcast, co-hosting a podcast and talking about Accrington Stanley, and people listen to it, in 6 out of 7 continents, and I said you're nuts. So you just never know. And so you got to be open-minded, and the one common thing of all what we're talking about, what you're going through with Libby and what we're going through, the one common theme, which we can all agree upon, is Accrington Stanley and the family welcoming atmosphere that they bring,
and the uniqueness as well. You don't get that else in the Football League.
No, it's true. It's true.
Absolutely.
It is true. So no, I this has been great, and we certainly appreciate Libby coming on and telling her story. You did a great job, Libby, and we love your answers. And I'm looking forward to saying hello to you when I'm over next season. And we're gonna be in League One next season. So we'll see you at a match.
Yes,
and thanks for doing this, Wayne. I appreciate it, and can't wait to have a beer with you and maybe 1B Tap or wherever, and talk some more football.
No, thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much, Wayne and Libby. I just want to tell you, between the two of you, your knowledge of Accrington Stanley is just incredible. And we just thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show with us today. And we would love to have you back again in the future. And what you bring in terms of the family connection, and that's what Accrington Stanley is all about, and we're just really happy that we're able to tell your story here. And what makes Accrington Stanley unique is exactly you two are a huge part of that, and just thank you so much. And when you're at the Wham Stadium, I want you to scream on Stanley on extra loud for me. And we're going to finish up the show like that because we always do. So on 3, here we go. 1, 2, 3. On Stanley on!
Very good. Thanks for doing this, Wayne and Libby. Cheers.
No,
Cheers.
thanks.